Falcons fans, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you could change the entire season. Imagine the Atlanta Falcons pulling off one of the boldest trades in recent NFL history. Imagine a superstar wide receiver, one of the most feared playmakers in football, suiting up in red and black. The trade deadline is coming fast, and the whispers are growing louder. This isn't just smoke. This could be the move that shocks the league and flips the Falcons' future. The NFL trade deadline is creeping closer, November 5th, Week 9 of the season, and right now, every franchise is looking in the mirror and asking the same question: are we buying, or are we selling? Bad teams usually give up their stars for draft picks. Contenders add firepower to make a run. The Atlanta Falcons? They're stuck in the middle. Some people say they look like a bad team. But one big move, one bold trade, could flip everything upside down. And that's where this story gets crazy. The Falcons' offense has shown flashes, but let's be honest, it needs help. And if the front office wants to save this season, they have to think big. They need someone who can immediately transform the offense and strike fear into defenses. There are 3 names on the board, 3 potential trade targets that could make the dirty birds soar again. And the first name? Oh, you're going to love this. It's the one that's been buzzing around the NFL all offseason. Tyreek Hill. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Here we go again with the Tyreek rumors. But this isn't some pipe dream anymore. The situation in Miami has exploded. The relationship between Tyreek Hill and quarterback Tua Tagovailoa has completely fallen apart. ESPN themselves have said it. The Dolphins and Tyreek are headed for a breakup. The team wants him gone. And Tyreek? He wants out of South Beach. Here's the kicker. Hill is 31 years old, his contract has no guaranteed money beyond the season, and his base salary is just $10 million. That's nothing for a team desperate for offensive firepower. Translation? The Falcons could actually afford him. Now let's talk production. Last season, Hill wasn't the same explosive force we all remember, but part of that was because Tua missed 5 games with a concussion. And even if his numbers dipped, let's not forget who we're talking about. Just 2 seasons ago, Tyreek put up nearly 1,800 yards and 13 touchdowns. He was unstoppable, one of the top 3 receivers in the NFL. This isn't a washed-up veteran. This is still a game-changing playmaker. The truth? It looks like he's checked out in Miami. He doesn't care about putting up big numbers there anymore. He just wants out. The only question left is simple. When will the Dolphins pull the trigger? And if they do, why not Atlanta? Imagine Drake London and Tyreek Hill lining up together. Imagine the Falcons finally having that deep threat who can flip a game with one play. That's not just a dream. That's a move that could rescue the season. So here's the question, Falcons fans. If Tyreek Hill is truly available, should Atlanta make the move? Would you pull the trigger, or is the price too high for a 31-year-old star? Drop your answer in the comments right now, and rate your confidence in the Falcons from 1 to 10 if they landed Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill may not be the same unstoppable force he was a couple years ago, but let's not kid ourselves. This man is still a 1,000-yard wide receiver waiting to explode. If Tua hadn't gone down last year, Hill easily clears that mark again. And now, imagine this with me for just 1 second. Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Tyreek Hill. That's not just a wide receiver group. That's a nightmare for defensive coordinators. That's 3 completely different weapons who could tear defenses apart from every angle. London bullying corners with his size, Mooney stretching the field with speed, and Tyreek, the human cheat code, slicing defenses to pieces with separation and yards after the catch. Right now, the Falcons' passing game has been too safe, too predictable. Zach Robinson's offense has looked more like nickel-and-dime football, short throws, 5-yard gains, nothing that scares defenses. That's fine for keeping the chains moving, but it won't win you playoff games. It won't win you championships. Enter Tyreek Hill. This is a guy who can do everything. He's dangerous over the middle. He wins against man coverage. He destroys zone coverage. He's one of the best in the league with the ball in his hands. And if you give him just one step on a defender, he's gone. Touchdown. End of story. That's what Atlanta needs, a true game breaker who flips the field in one play. But here's the million-dollar question: what would it actually cost to get him? Surprisingly, not as much as you'd think. The Dolphins just want him out of the building. They want to move on, and they don't care about squeezing maximum value. The Falcons could realistically send a mid-round pick, maybe a fourth-rounder in 2026, toss in a depth piece like David Sills, add a little cash, and boom, Tyreek Hill is wearing red and black. And long-term? That's another discussion. At 31 years old, Tyreek probably isn't getting a massive 4-year contract. But a 2-year extension? That's realistic. That's enough to give the Falcons a real window with their offensive core. If I'm Terry Fontenot, I don't hesitate. I make that call. Because the chance to bring Tyreek Hill into Atlanta doesn't come around often. And if the Falcons want to prove they're serious about contending, this is the kind of move that changes the entire direction of the franchise. But here's where it gets interesting. Tyreek isn't the only option. The Falcons could also look at another target, one that might surprise you. A player who would add a whole new dimension to the offense. I'm talking about tight end David Njoku. And trust me, pairing him with Kyle Pitts could create one of the most dangerous 1-2 punches in football. So let's settle it right now. If Miami is truly ready to move on, would you pull the trigger for Tyreek Hill? Type trade if you're all in, or pass if you think Atlanta should look elsewhere. I want to see where Falcons fans stand. Now let's talk about a name that might surprise some people: David Njoku. At first, you might be asking, why would the Falcons go after another tight end when they already have Kyle Pitts? But hear me out, because this move makes a lot of sense. David Njoku is one of the most underrated tight ends in the NFL. He's spent his whole career stuck in Cleveland, and let's be honest, the Browns have been a mess at quarterback for years. The guy has never had true stability under center, yet he's still managed to flash big-time talent. Go back to 2023, Njoku's best season. He hauled in 882 yards, proving he can be a major weapon in any offense. And remember, he was a first-round pick back in 2017. The talent has always been there. He's big, athletic, and knows how to create mismatches. Linebackers can't cover him, safeties struggle with him, and in the red zone? He's dangerous. But here's the key: Cleveland doesn't look like they're planning to keep him around. They just drafted Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green, and the kid is already eating into Njoku's snaps. 9 targets in Week 1, 7 catches, 63 yards. That's a statement from the Browns coaching staff. They're looking to the future. And with Njoku entering the final year of his contract, it feels like only a matter of time before he's moved. So what would it take? Not much. The same 4th-round pick we've been talking about for Tyreek Hill could get it done. And here's why this is huge for Atlanta: Njoku brings something Pitts doesn't. Kyle Pitts is basically a wide receiver in a tight end's body. He wants to run routes, make big catches, and stretch the field. And let's be honest, you've seen him try to block, he hates it. Njoku, on the other hand, thrives in structure. He's physical. He can block. He can punish linebackers. That means if you bring him in, Pitts doesn't have to pretend to be a blocker anymore. You can line him up outside like a true wide receiver, let Njoku handle the dirty work, and suddenly the Falcons have one of the most versatile offenses in the league. Imagine defenses trying to cover Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Pitts as a big-bodied wide out, and Njoku roaming the middle. That's mismatches everywhere. That's 12-man personnel used the way the best NFL offenses do it, to dominate. So here's the real question, Falcons fans: would you pull the trigger on Njoku? He's not the flashiest move, but he could completely change how this offense works. And if you're asking me, the answer is simple: yes. Tyreek Hill would be the dream, but Njoku? That's a move that could quietly turn this offense into something special. But buckle up, because my final trade target might just shock you. It's not a wide receiver. It's not a tight end. It's an offensive tackle, and it might be exactly what the Falcons need most. So let's hear it, Dirty Bird Nation. Are you in on David Njoku? Type yes if you'd take him in a heartbeat, or a no if you'd rather pass. Drop your answer in the comments right now. Now let's shift to the trenches, because if we're being real, this Falcons offensive line still has a hole. And the name that could fix it? Cam Robinson. This guy is no scrub. We're talking about a veteran left tackle with 101 career starts. He's been steady, reliable, and a very good pass blocker in the NFL. If traded, his cap hit is just over $3 million, cheap for a starter with that much experience. And with the Houston Texans looking ready to tear everything down after cutting C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Robinson could be one of the next pieces to go. And that's where Atlanta comes in. But here's the catch. Robinson has never played right tackle. Not one single snap. He's been a left tackle his entire career. And right now, the Falcons' offensive line looks solid everywhere, except at right tackle. That's the weak spot. That's the crack in the armor. So what do you do? Two options. Option A. Ask Cam Robinson to slide over and play right tackle for the first time in his career. Risky, because you don't know how he'd adjust. Option B. Move veteran Jake Matthews over to the right side, let Cam Robinson stay at his natural position on the left, and protect Michael Penix Jr.'s blindside with someone who's been doing it his whole career. Honestly? That might make the most sense. Matthews has the experience to adjust, and Robinson could settle right in at left tackle. And don't forget, yes, the Falcons already made a move for Michael Jarrell. But let's be real, that was a depth move. A conditional 7th rounder for a backup tackle. That's not a move that changes your season. Cam Robinson? That's a starter. That's someone who walks into Flowery Branch and takes a job immediately. The Falcons have to decide, do they want to keep patching things together, or do they want to make a real move to strengthen this offensive line? Because if they want to protect their rookie quarterback and open up this offense, Robinson could be the answer. So here it is, Dirty Bird Nation, Tyreek Hill, David Njoku, Cam Robinson. 3 trade targets who could all change this team in different ways. A superstar receiver. An underrated tight end. And a proven offensive lineman. Any one of them could shift the season. Now it's your turn. If you could only make one of these trades, which one would you choose? Tyreek Hill for the fireworks, David Njoku for the balance, or Cam Robinson for the protection? Drop your pick in the comments right now, and tell me how confident you'd be in the Falcons if that move happened.